I'm back. I've been away sailing the high seas. Well, I've been sailing the Ionian Islands actually. Paxos and anti-Paxos. That's nothing to do with that stuffing stuff. That's Paxo, completely different thing. Don't want you to get mixed up about it. I've had a brilliant time. The sun shone 30, 32 degrees. The sea was turquoise and magnificent with loads of swimming, loads of eating, a little bit of drinking as well. Now it's trying to get back to work. It's not so easy, is it, when you've been away? So yesterday was a teaching day, a bit of a demonstration. I'll show some of that. I'll show some of the holiday, some other stuff as well, I've no doubt. So, on with it. One or two people have been struggling a little bit this morning, either with starting a painting or getting bogged down early on. So I'm going to go and have a look and see if I can help and then make a demonstration painting. So Hazel's working over here and looking back at the house. What I'm going to do is take a photograph. I don't normally like working from photographs, and I certainly don't encourage students to do so, but for the demonstration purposes I think it's going to be a good idea. I'm going to take the picture of her view and then start the picture and just show how you can quickly get into a painting rather than getting bogged down with it. Right, so behind me is the view that I'm going to paint. It's just going to be a quick demonstration, but it's just that thing about getting started and not getting bogged down. Right, we all ready? Good. Today I'm going to be working in oil on canvas, and I'm going to use this old canvas. I've used it lots of times before for demonstrations, and I do recommend that you cover the canvas in paint as early as possible anyway. It makes all your tonal decisions so much easier. Right, so the first thing I want to do is establish the structure of this image, and the most important element of it is this large horse chestnut tree that takes up pretty much the whole of the right hand side of the painting. So I'm just going to block that in, and it comes down to about there. For this I'm using lemon yellow, cobalt blue and a little tiny bit of cadmium red, which knocks the colour back. It takes the green out of it and makes it so much darker. So the tree bulb is in there, and then the shadow comes underneath it like that. Okay, so that's kind of established where that is. I'm going to add a tiny amount of white to that to push the rest of this scene away, so that the trees in the distance come into that line there. You'll notice that I haven't drawn this out first. In the distance is the house and the clock tower. I want them to be a little bit more important than they appear in the photograph, so I'm just going to mix some titanium white with a little bit of cobalt blue and establish where the tower and the house are. There. Yeah, I'm going to move them over a little bit because it's a little bit too central for my liking, so I'm just going to put the kind of tower, and there's a roof that's catching the light, catching the sunlight next to it. And as you can see, I'm not interested in the shape of it now, it's just where it is on the canvas. So this is about the composition. So let's get the green in the trees in the distance which surround the house. Sorry, it's wobbling about a bit, but and let me come across the front as well. Okay, so that's established the first principles of it. Let's take it a little bit further and add some light to it, because the sun's shining now. When I took the picture, it wasn't. Now the fields in the foreground are absolutely bathed in sunlight, so we've got to make this as sharp as we possibly can. Nature is astounding in its colour, so let's get this in. There we go. Look at that. That's lemon yellow again, but with a tiny amount of cobalt blue. You can even add some white at this point. You've got to be very careful with white. It's a dangerous colour to use. I should say that all of these colours are thinned with turpentine. You can build up on it later, but right now it needs to be used thinly. And how long has that taken? 2 or 3 minutes perhaps? Take out some of that colour in there because the house is in there. And the colour that's already on there is quite close to the tonal value and the colour of the house, so that's useful for me. Okay, let's just have a look at structuring the clock tower a little bit more. So it's quite dark behind it. Let's have a look at the shape of it. It kind of comes out there and then that's too much. There we go. There's a little dome on the top of it. And then it's dark on this side as well. And then it just kind of broadens out here. Pop that in. It doesn't matter if some of the blue comes into it because parts of the tower are in shadow. You see, it's not quite right. It needs to come down further than that. So we take that down a little bit more. Maybe into there. Okay, that's better. The top there's just a little. You can see these little. They're in shadow too. Goes up a little bit more. Right, so that's established that. So down here is a roof that's catching the sunlight. So I've added a little bit of alizarin crimson to the roof colour, and that comes straight across as far as here. It starts to get a little bit darker over on the right hand side. Let's put that in. And then once again do some of the drawing in here. And that comes across the top of the roof line. There we go. There's a chimney stack which comes up here. Put that in. It does stop at the roof line, so I need to re-establish that. There we go. And with a couple of chimney pots. Okay, so before I put any highlights into this scene, I'm just going to establish where the light is coming from, which of course is the sky. It's a bright and, well, kind of intermittent day today, sunny and with cloud. So I'm just going to roughly put this in. This is titanium white, a little bit of French ultramarine and some mauve in with it as well, to give it a nice warm feel to the sky. Get that in, and it does come into the trees here. A little bit in there. See how unprecious this is? I'm not being too worried about going into the trees or anything like that. It's just in it goes. Then I can work back in with the trees again. There's a little bit of light coming through there. Just want to get some of the highlights into this tree a little bit. A little bit of light comes in down here. Underneath it there are some fence posts like that. Maybe another one there. I'm just going to establish some highlights. So the light is coming down onto the clock tower and catching the top of it, so I'll just put a little bit of light into there. And these columns, pillars, whatever they are, pop those in a little bit as well, as they're catching the light too. This area here, really nice little arch of light there. See how that lifts the whole thing? It starts to live. And of course, where there is light, there is shadow. So put a little bit of shadow underneath there. Under there. Anyway, that gives you a sense of how I would start working on a picture like this. It's not meant to be a finished painting. This is just about starting a painting. There are lots of ways to do that. That didn't take very long, did it? A few minutes. Hope that's helpful. I don't know, let's go and have a look at some holiday stuff. For watching, hope you enjoyed it. Click the thumbs up, maybe subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. And if you've got any comments or questions, put them in the box below and I'll get back to you, see if I can answer them. And I'll see you in the next video.